Welcome to US News Source Channel. Another remarkable appointment from Russia has taken place. Number of names that Russian President Putin can trust is getting less and less. Russian leader Putin changed the commander of Russian troops for the second time in 3 months. Command of the name that attracted attention lasted only 3 months. The Ukrainian General Staff and the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine made important statements about the events. Intensity of the clashes has increased in 2 critical areas in Donetsk. Operations are gaining momentum. Poland has announced that it will provide a Leopard 2 tank company for Ukraine. It is reported that these tanks will be used in Ukraine for the first time. Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council Secretary Oleksiy Danilov made remarkable statements about the war. In these days when the violence of the war has increased considerably, the operations carried out started to become more critical. It is known that one of the most critical issues in mutual halos in war is strategic moves. One of the most important differences between the Ukrainian and Russian armies is that the operations they carry out on the fronts are carried out in a strategic direction. Russia has been inflicting heavy losses due to the strategic mistakes it has made since the beginning of the war. Moreover, these errors are mostly attributed to the commanders. Recently, there have been remarkable news about the commanders from Russia. According to the latest news, General Sergei Surovikin has been dismissed. Command of this name, who has Syrian experience, took only 3 months. Russian leader Putin appointed Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov to head of Russian troops. In the official statement made by the Russian Defense Ministry regarding the reshuffle, it was claimed that General Gerasimov's appointment was made for the different elements within the armed forces to act more organized and effectively. Moreover, during the period when Surovikin was appointed, an appointment was made by announcing for the first time. In addition, as soon as this name was assigned, attacks against infrastructures were increased. This led to more casualties rather than success on the fronts, and to increasing and accelerating the aid to Ukraine. Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, Oleksiy Danilov, stated that the coming months will be very important for the war and that both sides are preparing for the war. Regarding Surovikin's resignation as the commander of the joint group of Russian troops in the war in Ukraine, Danilov said, Russian Chief of Staff Valery Gerasimov, who is known as the architect of special military operations in Russia, will take over the command in his place. This move caused curiosity in the country. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that all is not well for the Russian army regarding the replacement of Surovikin with Gerasimov. Joint Chiefs of Staff also believes that frequent personnel changes led by Russian troops point to problems with the army's command. Because if things were going well, there wouldn't be such frequent personnel changes. Also, according to statements made by the Chief of Staff, recent personnel changes show the need to unify within their ranks the management and command of their troops. Everything is not going as they wish, he said. Moreover, Russian Colonel General Alexander Lapin was appointed as the Chief of Staff of the Armed and Land Forces of the Russian Federation recently. But this name was dismissed after being accused of major failures. These changes made on the Russian side also show that the Russian president does not have much to rely on. Previously, many of the Russian officials either fled the country or shared information about the Russian leader, and Putin's actions. These developments also caused demoralization in the Russian army. Russian soldiers also go to new ways in their moves due to their commanders who are constantly changing. This situation may also confuse the soldiers. While the violence of the war on the fronts and mutual conflicts has already increased, such developments also have an impact on the course of the war. On the one hand, the war intensifies on the eastern front. In Bakhmut in Donetsk, mutual clashes became intense. Intense clashes started after Ukraine's YPR-765 armored personnel carriers entered the east of Bakhmut. Moreover, it was reported that the huge convoy of this armored personnel carrier contained 16 vehicles and crossed the Bakhmutka River and entered the eastern part of the region. Now it is stated that these vehicles are located in the Zabakhmutka region. Moreover, these vehicles target the positions of Russian mercenaries stationed in the region. It was also noted that these combat vehicles first appeared in the Bakhmut region. As it is known, this region has a great importance for both countries due to its location and political significance. If this area is dominated, it will be easier to advance towards nearby areas. It is also known that Russia has been attacking this region for months, and despite this, it has not achieved the expected success in the region. If the Ukrainian army retakes this area in a much shorter time, the inadequacies of the Russian army will become more evident. This will require Russia to face major shortcomings. For these reasons, the Russian army is still trying its luck in this region where Russia suffered the heaviest losses. At the same time, it is known that Russian soldiers launched an attack from Soledar for this region. For 2 weeks this area has become the hottest spot on the front. Conflicts are increasing. It was stated that Russian mercenaries tried to break this defense. However, the Ukrainian army is able to gain the upper hand by preventing these attacks thanks to its advanced offensive capabilities and holds the defense of this front. Hanna Maliar, deputy head of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, reported that intense clashes continue for Soledar and the Russian army suffered heavy losses. He also reported that many of the Russian troops were neutralized due to the advance of the Ukrainian army and that the Ukrainian troops were holding the line bravely. Fact that the Russian soldiers tried to advance despite heavy losses in the region shows the mistakes of their strategy and that they are advancing under pressure. However, these situations cause great morale disturbances in the Russian army. This causes the losses to become even more irreparable and causes the soldiers to flee from the fronts. Moreover, while Russia suffers significant losses on the fronts, Ukraine is getting stronger with aid from countries. This time, the President of Poland announced that 10 Leopard 2 tanks will be transferred to Ukraine. Moreover, it was stated that these Leopard 2A4 tanks will be provided free of charge and will be used in Ukraine for the first time. After this aid, it is expected that more aid will come from other countries. Also, as a result of the meeting of the leaders of Poland, Lithuania and Ukraine, Polish President Andrzej Duda announced that Poland will provide a Leopard 2 tank company for Ukraine. Ukrainian army will also use these tanks effectively and efficiently. All these aids are of great importance for the countries in the course of the war. For these reasons, it is necessary to increase it. At the same time, critical statements about the war came from Ukraine. Oleksiy Danilov, Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, stressed the importance of the coming months. Danilov stated that the next few months will be crucial in this ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine and that both sides are preparing for a decisive battle. We can say that Ukraine is preparing for this with the military equipment it has recently received and the equipment it will receive. These military installations pose a great threat to Russia. While Ukraine is buying such important weapons, Russia is more limited than ever because of the sanctions. It is certain that the Ukrainian side will receive support throughout the war, no matter when the war ends. It is also seen that the countries increased their support and military equipment to Ukraine as the war continued. However, it seems very difficult for Ukraine to join organizations such as NATO and the European Union while the war continues. As long as the war continues, it is almost impossible for Ukraine to be in either of these organizations. However, as the support from the countries is increased, the successes on the fronts will also increase. Now each move is more important than the one before. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.